Good morning. I will present you the GenderARP project and the main challenge that we encounter related to gender analysis. So the objective, just to have the context of the study, the objective is to better understand how gender and life stages influence addiction, health risk, and recovery trajectories in order to guide the development of integrated services that address complex and social and health care needs. So the first challenge that I will talk about, we have many challenges, but I'll talk about two. So the first challenge is defining the population. So the social precarity was one of the inclusion criteria that was important at the beginning of the project, but we encounter some ethical issues related to stigmatization. This is a qualitative project based on a semi-structured interview guided by a life course perspective and also with important participatory process. We work with a person with lived experience in the project to guide the interview guide. At all steps we have a research meeting with a person with lived experience to influence our research design. And some participants assert their right to use drugs and deplore the stigma related to drug use, in particular the stigma experienced by women, for example. And also, stigmatization was an important topic in the interview, and it compromised help-seeking, shame, social isolation, for example, for women and for people who identify as LGBTQ+ in a particular way. So when we had meeting, the initial definition of the criteria, which was economical precarity and an addition of two psychosocial difficulties, was perceived as problematic with our partners. The rationale of this choice, this initial choice, was to hearing the voices of persons facing multiple services barrier in order to better address their complex social and health needs. But the person with lived experience challenge this inclusion because they explain how there's various profile of person with problematic substance use, and also those with higher socioeconomical status tend to be more invisible in public services and hard to reach for harm reduction intervention also. So we decided to change the criteria, and we have the addition of problematic substance use and two other psychosocial difficulties as an inclusion criteria, and we will study, in fact, how the socio-economical status will influence the addiction trajectory and the utilization of services. Second challenge is about the integration of gender and diversity in our analysis. So we talk a lot about intersectionality this morning. We use a gender transformative health promotion framework from Peterson, and we apply a gender and diversity-based analysis. The concept of gender transformative services in this framework is interesting. It's a framework that aims to understand the political, social, economical issues related to gender inequalities, and to analyze the service experience, taking into account how, for example, some organization will try to address the causes of gender inequalities. For example, there's a lot of specific barriers to access of services for women, but also for a member of LGBTQI+ community. So we apply this framework to also the LGBTQ services. But we have some challenges related to this. For example, when we work with partners from feminist, for example, organization and also LGBTQ organization, we see that the definition is really different about what means gender and diversity. But maybe there's a lot of, I have 1 minute, so I'll try to be clear. We have challenges, for example, related to the inclusion of heterosexual cis men in participatory process with groups who are feminists, who are revendication for the LGBTQ community, for example. And we have, so harmony in some contexts when we integrate some feminist organization, LGBT organization. Harmony in some contexts, the concept of being allies and having shared revendication was interesting, but also we had tension in other contexts. So we discussed a lot together the safe space issues and how and when should we talk about personal experience as researcher and as a partner, to be sure that in some contexts we can have safe space to discuss these issues. And in an international with 3 countries, this is really complex to discuss these issues when we are with all the countries together. Voilà.